Greetings. I'm Thomas Caldwell of the Aurelian Column, and you're listening to The Book Report. This is a new feature here on my Substack channel that I've been thinking about for some time, and a few of you who've known me over the years have urged me to get into. And what I'm going to be doing is, as often as possible, reporting on books I've read, which is quite a few, or quite a many if you want to be more specific about it. You see, the best way to learn anything is through the written word, namely reading the written word. We have a society where people have very short attention spans, and not to their betterment. People go online and look at documentaries, most of which I'm finding out are horribly inaccurate, sensational, not based in reality. But very few of us go to source material to learn anything. You might hear about a famous book that's been written, and then you might hear somebody saying what the book said, and then you suddenly think you know what you're talking about. You don't. So the objective of the book report is to convey books that I've read and what I think of them and what I recommend, or what I don't recommend, and also how to get people back into the habit of reading. This is something I've been doing on a personal level with many people over the years, and I don't know anyone who hasn't been better for it. Now, there's a lot of excuses. People are very good at excuses. It's something that, at least in American society, we excel at. But there's no more excuses. People will spend 2, 3, 4 hours watching television shows when they could be reading a quality book that will better them intellectually and sometimes spiritually, and maybe even physically if it's a book about physical education or something health-related. It's important for people to read, and there's many ways to do it. So think of me as your reading doctor. Now, the first step is getting books. A lot of us like old-fashioned type books that we will actually read by hand, physical things. But we can get by with electronic books these days, which very often are superior, especially if you like to read yourself to sleep at night. I love my Kindle. I know people that have Nook, which is the Barnes & Noble equivalent of Kindle, and other sorts of tablet devices out there. The Apple iPad has the books function. It's a very easy thing to get the written word in front of you. And if you think about it, going off and reading websites, you are reading, aren't you? But a book that you read from beginning to middle to end will educate you. People throw the word education around the way sailors throw around swear words, or some religious people throw around the word love or healing. After a while, it has no meaning. But education is something that you can do with books. In fact, if you think about it, when you go to university, what do? You hear somebody talk, and he gives you an assignment of a book. That's what you have to do, and you can't stop doing that. Now, the average human that's reasonably healthy will live anywhere from 22,000 to maybe 25,000 days. And if you really do the math, there's only so many books you can read. So if you run across anyone who says they've read 5,000 or 10,000 books, that's hooey. It means they've been reading one book a day, one book every 4 days of their life from the time they were born, and very few people have time to do that or are capable of doing that. So you got to pick the books well. Now, another excuse that I hear a lot of is, they're expensive. Even ebooks cost $10 each. Well, there are a couple of websites that you can go to. One is LibriVox for audiobooks, which is also reading. I'm not going to take away audiobooks. Audiobooks I enjoy as much as I do regular ones. And there's also the Gutenberg Project. Just do web searches for those. The Gutenberg Project and LibriVox, Libervox. and you'll find plenty of public domain free things to read in electronic form. Now, another thing that people have to be willing to do is to read books on subjects you don't like, on topics that you don't agree with. Now, during my journalism career, I got to read a lot of books because if you work at a news agency, you go to the downstairs to the mailroom, there's books always coming in. The one condition is if you take it, you have to read it and write a report on it for the Wire or for somebody. At least that's the way it was in many places. You have to be able to read things you don't like or don't agree with. Now, I've read the Communist Manifesto and Das Kapital. I absolutely thought they were garbage, but I read them. That means also reading Mein Kampf or Mao Zedong's Little Red Book or some other things out there that you will probably not like or make sense of. You see, you're training your mind when you read things that you don't agree with because you're criticizing it. It's one thing to criticize somebody who's talking in a few sentences, but if you can read through a book and criticize it and say, I don't agree with any of this because of XYZ, you've really done something. The people that founded the United States, when they got up in the morning, they would often open a book or read a newspaper or something to that effect. They wouldn't just turn on the radio or a podcast or something like that. They would actually use their brain. Because if somebody has taken the time to set down ideas and thoughts in a book form, there's a lot there to ponder and a lot there to consider. Now, what I'm going to be doing is reporting on books that I've read. And I read on average probably at least one a week, sometimes two. I don't spend my time watching television or meaningless videos or listening to podcasts that explain in 2 hours what could easily be explained in 20 minutes. That's a real problem out there. And I'm going to urge people to come along and join me on this adventure of personal growth and enlightenment. Yes, enlightenment. When you start putting more and more information into your brain, you learn more and more about the universe around you. And given the times we're in and the craziness that we're seeing all around us, the insanity, especially here in the United States, coming from this current presidential election, it's important to start really exercising that muscle between your ears. America has an awful lot of obesity. Not all of the obesity is visible. A lot of it is on the brain. So let's start a little bit of mental exercises. Let's start working on building up our strength and building up our intellects, because that's the only way things are going to get better in this country and on this planet. So here's your first assignment. What you need to do to read is simply set aside a little bit of time and have something to read. Just go find a book, any book. Not a cookbook or an instruction manual, but I mean a real book. Just find one of something that has some interest and start reading it from beginning and go through it. Now, a lot of people don't have long attention spans. They can't read books for content. They can't read books without pictures or illustrations. Or they need to be able to read in 500-word spurts. Well, if that's what it takes, start. Read a page or two. Put a bookmark in there and set it down and go back to it the next day. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step is an old saying attributed to the Chinese, who've given us many interesting sayings over the millennia. But the same goes with good reading habits. Same goes with any other exercise, and this is an exercise. And everybody should be striving to be an Olympic champion in this category. Now for ebooks, Kindle, Great place to start. They're not that expensive. They're excellent devices. Probably the best thing that Amazon ever came up with. Actually, Amazon started off as just a bookstore back in the day. There's also the Nook, which is also useful. And if you have an iPhone or an iPad from Apple, they have the Books function, which you can even import your own PDFs. So just find some way you like to read and start reading. Even if it's 10 minutes a day, just start reading. You'll be glad you did. That's it for today. The next report will be on a book I just finished reading. I'll wait and tell you what that is later, and I'll go into some details as to why I liked it or why I didn't. If you like what you hear, please subscribe, like and subscribe, pass this podcast off to other people, and please consider a paid subscription. That would be a nice thing. It would give me more time to spend on these endeavors behind the microphone. I can be reached online, on email at feedback@aureliancolumn.com. That's feedback@aureliancolumn.com. I'm also up on Substack. You can reach us there, which is where this originates, at aureliancolumn.substack.com. Very easy. I'm up on X, formerly known as Twitter. Maybe we should just start calling it X now, but I'm up on X. My handle there is MICCAMPEN. I'm up on Telegram at The Aurelian Column, very easy to find, and a few other places. I am not on Facebook. Well, there's your first assignment. If you're listening to this, I'm going to urge you to become stronger and unstoppable. Thoughts rule the world, and thoughts are best conveyed with books. That's it for today. Be good, be safe, be vigilant, and good day.